to say this now rather than at the end of the video, just in case you got bored. But Life is Strange is partnering up with Centrepoint, a charity dedicated to helping homeless youths in the UK. They have a petition up and still haven't reached their goal to give homeless people a future. Even if you're not from the UK, please consider signing the petition, as it would help a lot. Thank you. Link to the video is linked below if you'd like more information. Life is Strange 2's journey has come to an end, with several different ways to complete said journey. Whilst that's more than the original, Life is Strange 2 certainly hasn't reached the same level of success as the first game. It just doesn't have the same level of hype surrounding it. Personally, I enjoyed this game. I love the entire series as a whole, so perhaps I might be a little bit biased. I don't want to outright say this game flopped, especially not knowing the sale numbers for the game. And a sequel will always be hard to pull off, as it is probably a lot of pressure to gain the same reception as the original. However, I do feel that this game does deserve more attention than it got, but it does have its reasons as why it did not. I understand this game won't be for everyone, that's completely fine. Interactive games aren't everyone's cup of tea, especially to those who deem it as not a real game. And if you don't like games that heavily rely on its story and characters, then this game will definitely not be for you. So basically, if you didn't like the first one, this might not appeal to you. Yet what I find fascinating is that the hatred for this game, or lack of interest, does come from its own fanbase. When Life is Strange 2 was announced back in 2018, I say quite a lot of people were unhappy that the main characters were male. I can even say, whilst I was not disappointed, but a bit surprised that they decided to go with male leads this time, as the series had been centred around female characters. Some felt that the series took a step back by doing this. There were a few articles discussing this. One article stated that the game would have been better if it was about sisters than brothers. In my opinion, I do find it disappointing that some people believe this, as we do have nice representation of lead female characters in video games now. And even in the past, although the representation has gotten much better over the years. Personally, I think it's never bothered me whether I was playing as a man or a woman. Although I do believe representation is very important, we shouldn't just exclusively show one perspective. On the other hand, saying you don't like something because of the gender of the protagonist is a little ridiculous, especially when Life is Strange 2's lead, Sean, is a bisexual Mexican American, which in itself is underrepresented. Not only that, Sean is, whilst a normal teenager, is pretty open and affectionate, which male protagonists don't often showcase in video games. Of course, I could not make this video without mentioning this, but many people were not thrilled that Max and Chloe were not making a return to the series, even though I thought it was well known by this point. They weren't coming back, that's why the farewell episode in Before the Storm is called Farewell. We the players got to say goodbye to them in this episode, but people still ask for them or say that they miss these characters. And I understand, I miss them too. They even make a cameo in Wolves. If you saved Chloe, some felt it was a missed opportunity to end their story there. But personally, I'm happy where it ended. Max lost her powers, so I felt there was no reason to continue the story. But if you didn't, there's a comic available that follows the Sacrifice Arcadia Bay ending. I'd say the first episode did quite well, with the majority of people who had played Captain Spirit people excited about its release. It generally had positive reviews, had a lot of coverage on YouTube, and overall fans seemed to like it. I know some people didn't enjoy the episode because they believed it was being overly political. But to be fair, the series as a whole has always been, as it's been criticised in the past for the exact same thing. It did make a lot of people mad, as it became a running theme in the series. But why is it that when something in the media conveys racism, people find it political and realistic? I think that's incredibly insensitive to people who face racism, to dismiss it as something that does not happen. Okay, so I don't really know how politics work in the US, so perhaps Don't Nod did get some stuff wrong, but I do believe that it was brave of Don't Nod to tackle these topics, as media in general doesn't want to discuss these topics because of fear of backlash. It's important to discuss these things rather than hope it goes away. I do understand it may sound like I'm blaming the fanbase a lot. I don't want to, but I've seen a lot of people pull this game down and not give this game a chance, which is a damn shame. I promise you, if you gave it a fair chance, chances are you might like it. If you don't, fair enough, we are all entitled to our own opinion. Of course, criticism can't be avoided. Nothing is perfect. There is some stuff I don't particularly like about this game. For example, sketching as Sean. I know it's supposed to be like taking a photo as Max or doing graffiti as Chloe. Whereas that was kind of fun to do, I found it boring to sketch. They could have made it that we do a QTA or something. I know people hate those, but if you play interactive games, you'll probably find that more enjoyable than just moving the analog stick. I guess that's a minor thing though, as it's my personal issue, because I haven't seen anyone else complain about that. A huge problem this game had was its release schedule. The wait definitely hurt this game. The gap between episodes was too long, and personally I felt that before they announced episodes 3, 4 and 5. I remember when episode 2 was released. To be honest, I had forgotten the story and felt no connection to Sean and Daniel. And I didn't think I would ever be able to become fully invested, but by episode 4 I truly connected with the characters. I felt the same way with the original Life is Strange. I instantly liked Max as we share a similar personality, but Chloe took me a while to actually like and connect to. The break between episodes turned a lot of people away from season 2. And I know people wait for games to fully release before they buy it, which isn't uncommon with episodic games, but many people had to decide to do the same thing because of the wait. I think that instead of releasing the episodes over a certain amount of time, it would have been better to just release the whole thing at once. That way it wouldn't kill the immersion. Having said that, I know a lot of fans love to make theories, and it is fun to speculate what will happen next. I don't want to make assumptions, but I feel like this game was rushed to be released, and in turn that's why it took so long to get episodes out. Another problem is the marketing. It hasn't done this game any justice. Outside of following the social media accounts, I haven't seen any advertisement for this game, which is a shame as I reckon this has caused it to be largely forgotten about, mixed with the wait time. Also, spoiling Esteban's death in the launch trailer was a mistake. I hadn't actually watched the trailers, as I don't like to for these reasons, so I didn't know Esteban would die, and I felt the impact of the scene more. The pacing was an issue in this game as well, as I felt some parts do feel a bit slow. Sometimes the player will just explore in silence, which is a shame as the soundtrack is excellent when it's put to use. Another unfortunate thing is the side characters aren't really memorable. It seems to me anyway that we don't really have an impact on them like we did in Life is Strange 1. As Max, it felt like the player could really influence what could happen to them. But Max also had time travelling powers, so that probably helped. Nevertheless, most players were let down by the side characters, but I believe the story wasn't ever going to expand on the side characters as Sean and Daniel are on a journey to Mexico, and they are just passing by, so we don't really have time to develop characters. It would have been nice to expand on them though, but overall I like the majority of the side characters. The main issue of course is Daniel. Many found him annoying as he does not listen to Sean. As for playing as Sean, this can become frustrating pretty fast. Also, Daniel likes to put the blame on Sean quite a bit, and the game itself will punish Sean quite a lot for his brother's mistakes. Now I know Daniel is a 9/10-year-old child and children don't really listen. I also realise that he's lost his dad and become homeless in a very short amount of time. Of course he's bound to be upset and angry as he doesn't know why this has happened to him. And to top all this off, he has superpowers that he and his brother do not understand. Although I'm giving reasons for Daniel's behaviour, he also annoyed me a lot, especially in episode 4. But by the time the episode ended, I felt the bond between Sean and Daniel, and felt it had been strengthened due to the events that took place in the church. Maybe it's because I have siblings, I understand that bond. I have a feeling that people who don't have any children in their lives may perhaps not be as patient with him, and that's understandable. In my opinion, it would have been interesting to play as both Sean and Daniel as they both share this story. Playing as Daniel may have given us more of an insight on his character. Maybe that would help some players feel more connected to Daniel. Also, it would be awesome to use his powers. I do miss being in charge of the power, but story-wise it makes sense why we can't play as Daniel, as Sean is shaping the way Daniel uses his powers, even how Daniel is as a character. I've seen some people even argue that Sean should be the one with powers. Sean is even shown to struggle with this notion. Yeah, it's actually quite refreshing to not be the chosen one for once. Like I said before, I love this game, especially seeing it now in its full complete form. This coming of age story of brotherhood, survival and sacrifice was truly touching to me. I love that it feels like our choices do shape Daniel and do influence the fate of the brothers. This game had some really nice moments and it's little things that make it really special. I still believe this game should be given a chance by its own fan base. As I said before, I don't want to say it flopped because it's never really fair to compare a piece of media to its previous title. I feel The Last of Us will definitely have this problem. People are going to compare it, it's something we can't help but do, especially if the original was extremely well received. At any rate, this game is getting overall positive reviews from critics, and I believe it will continue to get praise and the recognition it deserves. I'm glad Don't Nod is bringing us representation and tough topics to deal with. They are doing something different, and whilst that's admirable, they do however need to improve on it. We can only see progress and I believe they will improve. Even though Life is Strange 3 seems to be in the distant future, I look forward to Twin Mirror and Tell Me Why and future projects from Don't Nod. Thank you for listening to me ramble, and let me know what you think.